Did you really think that George Santos was gonna stay away for long? You know, he's having fun, grinding out them cameos and everything, but he wants back into the halls of power, and he has a particular role in mind if Donald Trump wins in 2024. He tweeted, "My New Year's resolution is that President Trump returns to the White House, and in 2025, I can be appointed director of ICE. It's time to reclaim our country, and if you believe the nonsense numbers the media is giving you, then you are accepting the big lie. We have over 50 million plus people who have invaded our sovereignty over the years due to careless and neglectful immigration policy. If given the job, I know exactly where to start and run the much needed raids of removals proceedings this country needs. Blah, 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 bring it on MSM. I'll take you all again on with glee." You took on everyone and then you got booted from Congress. Like that didn't go well for you. So what are you bragging about? But I want to take this as an opportunity to just remind everyone, like it's very common as you like move on from college and everything to have imposter syndrome and to like question your qualifications for everything. And it's very easy to look out at the other people around you and assume that they've got their stuff together and it's you that's just struggling. No, do not believe that simply because someone like has a following or once held power that they know what they're talking about. I feel 100% confident saying that George Santos knows much less about immigration than literally everyone watching this video right now. He doesn't know where the raids need to go. He doesn't know how many people have crossed the border. He doesn't know I'm not gonna swear, but jack something about any of this. Most of them don't. What they do know is that they want to once again have power and they'd really like a guaranteed government paycheck. That's all that this is about. And God help us if he gets put into the Trump administration and given any real power. But Trae, what do you think?
I mean, that would be an insane appointment to make, but I guess that's sort of Trump's MO when it comes to, cabinet appointments and whatnot. I mean, I remember I used to work for the Department of Energy, and when I was there, we had the head of physics and energy at Stanford, followed up by an MIT rocket scientist. And then after that, when Trump took over, it was Rick Perry for some reason, who couldn't even remember the name of that agency, right? So like Trump has done this and worse, I guess, before. So it wouldn't really surprise me, as ridiculous as it would be. Nothing would surprise me coming from them. But it is funny kind of to think about most of the ICE people I've ever seen, ICE officers or operatives, whatever you call them, they're kind of like hardcore and geared up, and they got like bulletproof vest on and ARs and all this stuff, and they look like SWAT teamy. It is kind of funny to picture those guys having to take marching orders from George Santos. You know what I mean? Like George Santos in charge, like he's like the general in charge of a unit like that is is a setting for like a Tim and Eric sketch or something. It's pretty wild. It's fitting for the ridiculous times that we live in. I'll give him that much. But yeah, I'm sure, of course he claims to be an expert on all things immigration. He claims to be an expert on everything. I'm sure he would tell you his grandpa, helped come up with the idea of a border wall or, whatever. There's like nothing he wouldn't claim. So it doesn't surprise me, but I kind of hope he just goes away forever, but also kind of hope he sticks around and pathetically claws for any kind of relevancy back, because it is kind of funny to me, I have to admit. So
yeah, it's the occasional laugh. And honestly, like the way that you're presenting him, like he is such a ridiculous figure that now that I'm thinking about it, like maybe it would be better if he was in head of ICE, because we're not gonna get a competent person. That's just not gonna happen. It's gonna be Rick Perry or way more fascistic, basically. So you can have George Santos, or honestly, like you could have Stephen Miller. Like honestly, like Stephen Miller, we already know is rolling out what they're gonna be doing on immigration. Like, and I want to remind everyone of the stakes here: restoring the Muslim ban, possibly invading northern Mexico to fight the cartels, restoring the Remain in Mexico policy, ending birthright citizenship, and mass detention and deportation. Literally, they were talking about 100 to 300,000 soldiers being dispatched to the border to create a network of detention and immigration camps at the border. So maybe it would be better to have George Santos in charge of that, because he definitely would flub it. Like he would biff the entire thing. Maybe that would save us. But any thoughts about the stakes when it comes to immigration?
Well, that general concept you just laid out is how I've been able to sleep at night for a long time, or like throughout the whole Trump administration, is just like telling myself, it's like, yeah, these people are evil and an existential threat, but they're also horrifically incompetent, generally speaking, and can't find their way to get basically anything done. You know what I mean? Like, look at like the GOP in the House of Representatives over the past year and how much of a circus that's all been, because kind of always goes that way with them, because they're all like, you know, ideologues and lunatics and don't have any, you know, actual degree of competency for the most part. But that's why that whole Project 2025 thing freaks me out, because they've like got a whole because again, I know, because I work for the DOE. When Rick Perry took over, him not knowing anything about it didn't make that much of a difference, because there were all these lifelong government employees who've been in the agency who actually had expertise and experience and knew what they were doing, and they still worked there just like they had for 40 years. Well, they want to replace a lot of those people with like true believers and whatnot. And if that does happen, I don't even I shudder to think like the impacts that would have on the, you know, the operations of the federal government, or the executive branches anyway. So it is kind of scary.
Yeah. And consequential, you know, like, you know, this is going to be news to people like Rick Perry or whatever, but the Department of Energy is kind of important. Like, you know, there's nuclear power plants, there's nuclear weapons. Like, you kind of sometimes need to have expertise. I know that they all think that it's a joke and the academia and whatever doesn't matter, but like, I don't know, sometimes it's the difference between a city blowing up and not.